Okay, stop what you are doing right now, because I need to tell you something that changed my life at an art gallery in London 3 years ago. I walked up to a painting, a stranger walked up next to me, we looked at the same painting, and that stranger said 6 words that started a 45-minute conversation that I still think about today.
6 words. I need to know what those 6 words were.
We will get there. Welcome to Next Level English, the podcast that does not just teach you English, it teaches you the English that actually matters in real life. I am Maya.
And I am Tom, and today we are stepping inside an art gallery together. We are going to teach you exactly how to express your opinion about art, how to describe what you see, and how to have the kind of deep, beautiful, impressive conversations that make people think, wow, this person is fascinating.
Because here's the truth that nobody tells you when you are learning English. You do not need to be an art expert to sound brilliant at an art gallery. You just need the right phrases, the right chunks, the right vocabulary. And by the end of this episode, you will have all of it.
All of it. And Maya, before we jump in, I have to say, art galleries are one of the most underrated places to practice English. Everyone is quiet, everyone is thoughtful, and everyone wants to talk. It's basically a free conversation club.
A free conversation club with very expensive paintings on the wall. Okay, let us start from the very beginning. You walk through the door of the gallery, you grab your little map, you walk into the first room, and there's a painting in front of you. What do you say? What do you think? Where do you even start?
This is where most people go completely blank. They look at the art, their brain says something, but they don't have the English to say it out loud, so they just nod and walk away. And that's such a waste.
Such a waste. So the first thing we're going to give you today, the first chunk, is a phrase that works for literally any piece of art you're standing in front of. Ready?
Ready.
There's something about this piece that really draws me in. Say that with me. There's something about this piece that really draws me in.
There's something about this piece that really draws me in. One more time. There's something about this piece that really draws me in.
That phrase is magic. And here's why. It does not require you to know anything about art. It doesn't require you to name the technique or the style or the period. It just says, I feel something. This is pulling me closer. And that's always true. That's always honest.
Draws me in. Those 3 words, draws me in. It means to attract, to pull your attention, to make you want to look longer. And in an art context, it sounds incredibly natural and poetic at the same time.
So the next time you stand in front of any painting, any sculpture, any photograph, there's something about this piece that really draws me in. Beautiful opener. Now, Tom, once you've said that, what comes next?
What comes next is describing what you actually see. And this is where English learners sometimes panic because they think, I don't know the right art words. But here's the secret. You don't need art words. You need observation words.
Observation words. I love that.
So instead of saying something technical, you simply describe what your eyes are doing. And the phrase for that is, what I notice first is. Say it. What I notice first is.
What I notice first is. One more time. What I notice first is.
What I notice first is the way the light falls on her face. What I notice first is the chaos in the background. What I notice first is how lonely the figure looks. See, you're not being an art critic. You're just being honest about what your eyes see first.
And that honesty, that's what makes a conversation genuine. That's what makes someone want to keep talking to you, because you're not performing, you're actually seeing.
And actually seeing is an act of respect to the artist, to the work, to the person you're talking to.
Okay, so we have, there's something about this piece that really draws me in, and what I notice first is, now let's talk about opinions. Because galleries are not museums of facts. They're spaces of interpretation. And interpretation means your opinion is valid.
Your opinion is always valid in an art gallery. This is one of the few places in life where you literally cannot be wrong.
You can be wrong about math. You cannot be wrong about how a painting makes you feel. So let's give you the phrases to share those feelings confidently. The first one, to me, this piece feels.
To me, this piece feels. Say it again. To me, this piece feels.
To me, this piece feels melancholic. To me, this piece feels chaotic but intentional. To me, this piece feels like a memory you can't quite reach. That little phrase, to me, at the start, that's doing so much work. It signals, this is my interpretation. I'm not claiming absolute truth. I'm sharing my perspective.
And people love that. When someone says to me, it invites the other person to share what it feels like to them. It opens a conversation instead of closing one.
Exactly. Versus if you say, this painting is sad. That closes it. That's a statement of fact. But to me, this painting feels sad. Now the other person wants to say, really? To me, it feels hopeful.
And there's your 45-minute conversation right there.
Right there. Now, Tom, let's talk about the vocabulary, the actual words that describe art and visual experience. Because these words, once you have them, you'll use them everywhere, not just in galleries.
Not just in galleries. These words show up in movies, in books, in music reviews, in design conversations. They are truly universal.
First word, evocative. Evocative. Say it, evocative.
Evocative means something that brings strong feelings or memories to your mind. This painting is incredibly evocative. The colors are evocative of a summer childhood. It is a word that sounds sophisticated but feels warm at the same time.
Evocative. One more time, evocative. If you use that one word in a gallery conversation, someone will look at you differently. That is a promise.
Next word, composition. Composition. This is the way different elements are arranged in a piece of art, where things are placed, how they relate to each other.
I love the composition of this piece, the way your eye travels from the left corner all the way to the center. You do not need to be an artist to notice composition. You just need to notice, where does my eye go first? Where does it travel next?
Composition. Say it, composition. And it sounds beautiful when you use it in a sentence. The composition is striking.
The composition is striking. Say that. The composition is striking. One more time. The composition is striking.
Now, Maya, this is a good moment to talk about expressing uncertainty in art, because sometimes you look at something and you genuinely do not understand it, abstract art especially, and there is a phrase for that moment that is absolutely perfect.
Yes, because pretending to understand something you do not understand, that is the most exhausting thing in the world.
Standing in front of a canvas that is just 3 blue squares and nodding like, yes, very deep.
Very deep. 3 squares. So the phrase, the honest, beautiful phrase is, I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to...
I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to. Say that. I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to.
I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to the tension between the colors. I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to how unsettled it makes me feel. That phrase shows intellectual humility. It shows you're thinking. It shows you're honest. And people find that incredibly attractive in a conversation partner.
Incredibly attractive. Intellectual humility is one of the most underrated qualities in a person.
And it is so easy to express in English once you have the phrase, I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to.
Okay, we need to talk about one of the most important skills in art gallery English, asking someone else for their interpretation. Because conversations are not monologues. You need to invite the other person in.
This is where so many people stop. They say their opinion and then they go quiet and the conversation dies. But if you can ask the right question, the conversation breathes, it lives.
So the phrase is, what do you think the artist was trying to convey? Say that. What do you think the artist was trying to convey?
What do you think the artist was trying to convey? One more time. What do you think the artist was trying to convey?
Convey means to communicate or express. What message, what feeling, what idea was the artist putting into this work? That question is open. It has no wrong answer, and it makes the person you are asking feel respected and curious at the same time.
And if someone asks you that question, if they say, what do you think the artist was trying to convey? You have the perfect answer structure. You say, I think the artist was exploring the idea of fill in the blank. I think the artist was exploring the idea of loneliness in a crowded world. I think the artist was exploring the idea of time and how it distorts memory.
I think the artist was exploring the idea of. That phrase sounds so intelligent, so considered, and it's just a template. Fill it with whatever you actually feel.
I think the artist was exploring the idea of. Say it one more time with me. I think the artist was exploring the idea of.
Okay, Maya, now I want to circle back because you said at the very beginning of this episode, a stranger said 6 words that started a 45-minute conversation. What were the words?
Pause. The stranger looked at the painting, looked at me, and said, what does this make you feel?
What does this make you feel?
6 words, that's all. What does this make you feel? And I said, honestly, like I missed something important. And he said, me too. And then we talked for 45 minutes about grief and memory and color and childhood and whether beauty can be painful.
From 6 words.
From 6 words. And that's the power of having the right language. Not complicated language, not academic language, just the right words at the right moment.
What does this make you feel? Say that. What does this make you feel? One more time. What does this make you feel?
That question is your secret weapon in any gallery anywhere in the world. Use it, and please use it.
Okay, let's keep going because we have more great vocabulary and I want to make sure you walk away from this episode fully equipped. Next phrase, there's a tension in this piece between.
There's a tension in this piece between. Say that. There's a tension in this piece between.
There's a tension in this piece between light and darkness. There's a tension in this piece between stillness and movement. There's a tension in this piece between beauty and violence. The word tension in art means opposing forces that exist in the same space, two things pulling against each other. And when you name that tension, you sound like someone who sees deeply.
Someone who sees deeply. That is exactly who you are becoming by learning these phrases. There's a tension in this piece between. Beautiful. Write it down.
Now, another incredibly useful word, layered. Layered. As in, this work feels layered. It means there's more than one meaning, more than one level. You can look at it once and see something, look again and see something completely different.
This work feels incredibly layered. The symbolism here is layered. That word, layered, shows that you understand art can have depth without you needing to explain every single layer.
Layered. Say it, layered. One more time, layered.
And the sentence, this work feels incredibly layered. Say that. This work feels incredibly layered. Gorgeous.
Let's talk about one more situation that comes up all the time at galleries, reading the description card next to the artwork. Because sometimes you read it and you think, I understood this before I read the description and now I'm more confused.
Always more confused after the description. Oil on canvas, 1887. The artist's use of fragmented brushwork reflects the psychological disintegration of post-industrial society. And you go, yeah, absolutely. Oil, canvas, disintegration, got it.
Totally got it. So when you're confused by a description or when you're talking to someone who used a word you didn't catch, the phrase is, could you help me understand what's meant by that?
Could you help me understand what's meant by that? Say that. Could you help me understand what's meant by that?
Could you help me understand what's meant by that? That phrase is soft, polite, and completely natural. It doesn't say, I'm confused. It says, I want to understand deeper, which is actually true, right? You do want to understand deeper.
You always want to understand deeper. And that desire, that curiosity, that's what learning a language is really about. Could you help me understand what's meant by that?
Okay, let's do one final phrase, and this one is for when you're leaving the gallery. When you're walking out and someone says, so, what did you think of the exhibition? Because this moment comes, and most people say it was nice or it was interesting, and that's fine. But you're a next level English learner. You're going to say something that makes people remember you.
The phrase is, there were a few pieces that stayed with me. Say that. There were a few pieces that stayed with me.
There were a few pieces that stayed with me. One more time. There were a few pieces that stayed with me.
Stayed with me, that phrase means the art didn't just live in the gallery. It came with you. It followed you out the door and into your thoughts. And when you say that, the person asking immediately wants to know which pieces. And now you have a conversation.
There were a few pieces that stayed with me. That's such a romantic way to talk about art and life, honestly.
It really is. All right, let's do our full recap because your brain has absorbed so much today, and I want it to stick.
First, your opener at any piece of art, there's something about this piece that really draws me in. To describe what you see, what I notice first is,
To share your opinion, to me, this piece feels, to express honest uncertainty, I'm not sure I fully understand this, but I'm drawn to.
to invite conversation. What do you think the artist was trying to convey? To share your interpretation, I think the artist was exploring the idea of,
To observe tension, there's a tension in this piece between. To show depth of understanding, this work feels incredibly layered.
to ask for clarity. Could you help me understand what's meant by that? And to end any gallery conversation beautifully, there were a few pieces that stayed with me.
Ah, that's a complete gallery vocabulary toolkit, from walking in to walking out. You are ready.
And can I say, these phrases work for more than just galleries. They work in film conversations, book club discussions, music conversations. Anytime you're talking about something creative and you want to sound thoughtful and engaged.
Thoughtful and engaged. That's the goal. Not perfect, not flawless, just genuine, just present, just willing to look at something beautiful and say, here's what I see.
Here is what I feel.
And that's enough. That will all. Tom, that was honestly one of my favorite episodes we have done.
Mine too. Okay, everyone, I have a question for you in the comments. Which phrase from today are you going to try first? Write it down below. Actually write the phrase out, because writing it once means you will remember it 3 times longer.
3 times longer. That is basically science. And if someone in your life is learning English or loves art or both, please share this episode with them. One share from you keeps this channel alive and keeps us making free content every single week.
Every single week, we are here. We love this, and we love this community more than you know. Thank you so much for spending this time with us on Next Level English. I am Maya.
I am Tom. Go to a gallery, look at something beautiful, and say, there's something about this piece that really draws me in.
And see what happens. Bye for now.
See you next time.